Can you believe it? Hanli in the early Yuanying stage was able to make a mid-Yuanying and a peak early Yuanying, so, wary of him, Hanli successfully killed the matchstick beast in the abyss of demonic fall, obtaining the inner core and numerous treasures. Now that he has the treasures, Han has no intention of staying in the inner region any longer. He plans to return the way he came, straight back to the foreign lands. Why don't the two fellow Taoists return together? Hanli calmly suggested first. Don't joke around, Taoist Han. My brother Lu and I have worked hard to enter the inner region, so we naturally won't return like this. Why is Taoist Han in such a hurry to leave the region? Nan Longho chuckled. He asked with a smile. It's nothing, just that Han has already gained something. So, I don't plan to take any more risks. The path of cultivation is still long ahead. I have no interest in staying in such a dangerous place any longer. Hanli casually replied. Heh, I didn't expect Taoist Han to know the treasures so well. It's a pity that we can't accompany you any longer. Taoist Han can go out of the valley alone first. The old man with the surname Lu said with a smile. Going alone? But if I were to take the Liangyi ring away, how would you two fellow Taoists deal with the northern polar lights in the passage? A strange look appeared on Marquis Nan's face. He slowly asked, the two of us have already considered this. Fellow Taoist Han, you can rest assured that perfected Kinkun is in the inner valley. He found a teleportation formation long ago. It can teleport us directly back to the outer valley. However, it is a bit of a journey to get there. It is not as fast as returning the way we came. Otherwise, this Marquis would have already told you. Fellow Taoist, Marquis Nan said with complete confidence, replying without any hesitation. Hanli was momentarily taken aback, but his expression quickly returned to normal as he nodded. I see. In that case, Han, will take my leave of you to fellow Taoists. I hope you to still make great gains. We thank you for your auspicious words, fellow Taoist Han. Lu, will not see you off then, fellow Taoist. Seeing that Hanli was truly taking his leave, Marquis Nan and the old man surnamed Lu were secretly overjoyed. Hanli smiled faintly. He then cast a seemingly casual glance at that glistening ancient skeleton. Then he once again transformed into an azure streak and sped towards the exit. In the blink of an eye, he vanished without a trace. The old man, who had been smiling amiably the entire time, as soon as Han Li's shield light appeared, he left this place. The smile on his face faded completely. However, the Marquis of Nanlong expressionlessly patted his waist. A spirit beast brought a branch. A golden little bird flew out from the middle of the platform. It was indeed the large show of the 1,000-mile pair he had tamed. It dashed towards the exit. Several 1,000-mile pairs transformed into several clusters of golden light and flew out of the chicken coop. They also flew into the passage. In a flash, they disappeared. Then, the Marquis of Nanlong gently closed his eyes. It seemed he was sensing something. Lu Wang noticed a slight frown on his brow. He just calmly stayed by the side, not saying a word. It was unclear how long had passed. The Marquis of Nanlong's eyelids moved slightly. Then he slowly opened his eyes. That person had indeed left. At least not in this vicinity. The 1,000-mile pair had searched. There was no trace of him within a 10-mile radius. The Marquis of Nanlong said calmly, "Didn't you say before that this person's divine stone is very powerful? Could it be that he used a concealment method to evade your search?" The old man with the surname Lu furrowed his brow. He raised a question. "Don't worry. If he truly is hiding nearby and hasn't left, it absolutely cannot be hidden from me. As for the reason behind it, this monkey won't talk like a fool." The southern long monkey stroked his chin. He said with a hint of strangeness. Seeing the southern long mark was so confident, Lu Weiying was somewhat skeptical. However, after a moment of thought, he still clasped his hands and made a decision. He cast several spells around them. A layer of white, small soundproof barrier appeared around them, completely enclosing them within. The southern long Marquis smiled, but his face showed a look of indifference. It's always better to be cautious. This Han Dao has some background. We have always been unable to see through him. Clearly, his cultivation is not high, but he gives me a feeling of being unfathomable. He took one last glance at the ancient skeleton. I wonder if he noticed the 7 orifices. After Lu Weiying finished setting up the soundproof barrier, he said with relief. But when he spoke the last sentence, he seemed a bit surprised. "Brother Lu, you are too suspicious. Although this Hanli kid has some skills, how could he know the secret of the ancient child? It should just be an unintentional action. After all, this ancient child, DOES indeed looks somewhat unusual." The old monkey shook his head and said, "Regardless of whether he truly sees something abnormal, it is true that he doesn't want to stay with us. Perhaps he thinks he has enough skills to explore the treasure there alone." The old man thought for a moment. and said thoughtfully, "All right, as long as this kid doesn't come to interfere with us, whether he truly has the ability or not, we just need to be more vigilant. It's getting late. We should act quickly." According to what Zhao Kankan said, these ancient repairs are indeed the key to breaking the blood curse gate. Since this gate is sealed with such powerful prohibitions, it shows that what's inside is extraordinary. In ancient times, blood curse gates were generally used for storing heavy treasures. This ancient repair has even turned transparent, which is a sign that this table has been used. Back then, Kankan retreated wisely, which just happened to benefit the others. The southern duke sighed and said, "Indeed, compared to the heavy treasures behind the blood curse gate, the treasures we have now should be considered trivial. All right, let's set off too. The blood curse gate isn't far from here, but it's better for us to retrieve the treasure as soon as possible." The old man with the surname Lu pondered for a moment and said, "What Brother Lu said makes sense. Let's get going. As for me, I'm also quite looking forward to what lies beyond the blood curse gate. If it weren't for the fact that Master Kenkun happened to discover this ancient cultivator near the blood curse gate back in the day, it would have been regrettable that we had no way to deal with that gate. The one who cast the curse on the gate back then hasn't strayed far from the blood curse gate. He must have painted here. It's known to be somewhat strange. It seems that this ancient cultivator definitely has quite a story behind him. What story or not, this old man is not interested at all. Brother Nan Long, let's go." Not long after, two beams of escape light shot out from the cave beneath the hurricane. They crossed over the hurricane and headed straight for an unknown destination. At this time, Hanli did not stay nearby and had already flown back on the way. Now, he was already 100 miles away, and the music in your mind was asking, "What, Master? Are you really leaving like this?" Those two are clearly hiding something from Master. That ancient puppet also seemed to have some problems. A confused voice was heard. "Of course I know about this. It most likely involves some other treasure, although I was also a bit tempted. But what I'm more concerned about right now is the matter of the Spirit Master fruit. Other than this item, what other treasure in the valley could be more useful to me? We're already so far behind the Ghost Spirit sect. No matter what Marquis Nanlong and his partner are plotting, I don't want to get involved any further." Hanli flew back the way he came, and said indifferently, "I see. Compared to the Spirit Master fruit, this fallen Devil Valley indeed has no other treasures of greater value to you, Master. However, Master, why did you suddenly pick up that light silkworm robe at the end? What was your intention?" Zibai didn't think Master truly coveted this item. Yuni then curiously asked about another matter. Hey, this matter. You could say those two old fools are utterly blind." Hearing this, Han Li gave a slight smirk and said with a touch of sarcasm, "What does the Master mean by this?" The music became somewhat puzzled. Han Li did not answer immediately. Instead, she suddenly reached out and patted her storage bag. A golden light flashed. The light silkworm robe appeared in Han Li's hand. With a sound, Han Li's hands moved like hooks. She easily tore the green silkworm robe along one edge. Compared to the music, she was surprised, because Han Li took out a small piece of something that was flying and rolling from the crevice of the green robe. On it, some rough lines were drawn, using the most primitive method with a charcoal pencil. The thin and delicate piece was slightly damaged. Holding that thin, soft object with one hand, she squinted her eyes and began to examine it closely. "This is a map, and it seems to be a map of the Devil's Valley." While Hainai was gazing at this object, Yinue also saw it clearly. He only glanced at the door a few times, and couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. Haili did not speak, but her gaze was fixed on a prominent, thick mark on the map, and her eyes couldn't help but narrow slightly, without the music reminding her. Hanli also discerned the general outline of the map, but staring at a prominent thick mark on the map made her eyes involuntarily narrow, without the need for music to remind her. Hanli could also see the general outline of the map, which indeed looked exactly like the terrain of the Abyssal Valley. However, while the rest of the map was drawn roughly, only the marked area was detailed, not only depicting the location of the mark, but also clearly labeling the nearby terrain. Hanli calculated for a moment. The distance between the marked location and her current position was extremely far, and she had no idea what dangers lay ahead. Hanli pondered for a moment, then shook her head and put the map away, knowing that the marked area definitely contained some significant secret. But before resolving the matter of the democratic fruit, Hanli did not intend to stir up any more trouble. Whether to explore it later would be decided after obtaining the spirit candle fruit. Yinue seemed to guess Hanli's thoughts, and did not say anything further. Hanli flipped her hand again, taking out the new healing item, and conveniently stuffed it into the bamboo tube behind her. Calmly said to the big-eyed spirit, "The materials needed for this 7-leaf fan, many of which have long been extinct, or perhaps it is simply hard to find, but with the extraordinary talent of the predecessors, maybe we can find a substitute. If we can in today's cultivation world, can you really replicate the spirit treasure? I truly admire you, Senior, from the bottom of my heart. Kid, do you think I'm just going to let you have it for free? Although I am very interested in the spirit treasure, why would I research the refining method for you without reason? Is it just because of your light and airy words of admiration?" The big-eyed god remained silent for a moment before coldly replying, "The spirit treasure is not so easy to replicate. Senior, you are truly talented. Although I, Han, have always been cautious, I actually have little confidence in whether I can research a method to replicate it. However, if you can really accomplish this, I can promise to fulfill any request you have within my capabilities as a reward. What do you think, Senior?" Hanli did not show any unusual expression, but calmly said. Upon hearing Hanli's words, the big-eyed god immersed himself in thought for a moment. Then he snorted coldly and proudly said, "The celestial spirit treasure. I obtained some information about it many years ago at an ancient cultivation site, and that's how I learned of the existence of such a defying treasure. For these treasures that even ancient cultivators hold in great awe, I am naturally very curious. Only then will we know of the existence of such a heaven-defying treasure. For these treasures that even ancient cultivators hold in great awe, I am naturally very curious." From then on, I paid more attention to 4 types of treasures. Unfortunately, information about heaven-reaching spirit treasures was extremely scarce. I never made any discoveries. Now, I've become this, neither human nor ghost-like creature. I even only have a mere dozens of years left before my soul completely dissipates. So I don't want to pass away with any regrets. So even though I know you're just trying to provoke me, I still accepted it. Besides, it's just a matter of finding some substitute materials. It's not like I have to develop a heaven-reaching spirit treasure from scratch, or its refining method. What's so difficult about that? Humph. Just don't forget to grant me one request when the time comes. Alright, then it's a deal. Hanli smiled freely, and with a grin, he settled the matter. To have a genius who could even create the great development art right here with him, Hanli naturally wouldn't let this opportunity go to waste. Although he already had the Suchak Cauldron, a heaven-reaching spirit treasure, it was still unknown when he would be able to use it. Besides, for heaven-defying treasures like heaven-reaching spirit treasures, the more one had, the better. After that, the great development divine lord's voice went silent. He was presumably already opening the jade box and studying the refining method within. The spiritual light around Han Li's body grew even brighter. His speed instantly increased a bit as he fled forward. Half a day later, when Han Li once again approached the nest of the Zhuozi when Scorpion, on the mountain peak, Marquis Nanlong and the old man surnamed Lu were walking through an unfamiliar underground passage. This place was pitch black. It was damp all around. With the two's cultivation levels, they could only see things within a few dozen feet. Marquis Nanlong truly couldn't imagine that in a place filled with lava, there could be such a damp and gloomy place. Regarding the matter of that blood curse gate, I now believe you for the most part, fellow Taoist. Lu Wang walked about 10 feet behind Marquis Nanlong and said slowly, "So, Brother Lu, you have been skeptical this whole time. You should know, fellow Taoist, that regarding the blood curse gate, even when this Marquis and that thief Yun found Sage Kinkin's book together, there was no mention of this matter. Otherwise, the people from the Ghost Spirit sect would never have let this place go. The blood curse gate is a secret chamber passed down orally through this Marquis's ancestors for generations." Marquis Nanlong replied with a faint smile to Brother Nanlong, "I'm afraid you wouldn't necessarily have brought me along, would you?" The old man surnamed Lu's eyes shifted slightly, suddenly smiled and said, "Brother Lu, you're joking. I have been friends with my fellow Taoist for so many years. With such benefits, of course, I have to invite Brother Lu. Otherwise, why would I keep this matter a secret? That letter called me a kid. A male monkey from Nanlong hit me. Ha ha ha, I just vaguely dealt with it. Thank you, Brother Lu, for your kind intentions." The old man with the surname Lu slightly tested the waters. He immediately stopped mentioning this matter. In a situation where only the two of them were exploring treasures, it's enough to just give the other party a little hint, so that Lord Nanlong knows he has some wariness towards him. He must not do anything like burning bridges halfway. He doesn't want to be confused and end up tearing his face with the other party in such a place, engaging in a fierce battle again. Lord Nanlong also knows the old man's intentions. His expression remained normal on the surface, but he sneered coldly in his heart. The two advanced a short distance in silence. A faint light came from ahead. Both of them immediately quickened their pace. They walked into a fairly large cave. This cave is over 30 zhang wide. The ceiling is covered with cone-shaped stalactites of several feet in size. The walls are shimmering with white light. But what attracts the most attention is? But it is at the center of the cave. There is a green water pool over 10 zhang in size. The water in the pool is slightly emerald green. It seems there is nothing unusual about it. The blood wrinkle gate is really here. The old man with the surname Liu took a private look around. He did not find any prohibitions or restrictions. Finally, he couldn't help but ask, looking at the old man who had just said that he was 70 to 80% convinced. Now questioning it, the southern monkey glanced sideways, revealing a half-smile expression. This place cannot be wrong, but such an important place as the Blood Curse Gate naturally was left by the Master Kenkun to be reenacted with stillness. As long as the stillness is removed, it will be fine. The southern Marquis calmly returned. His gaze shifted, landing on the water pool in the middle of the cave. The old man Liu confirmed, and also looked at the water pool in a daze. At this moment, the southern Marquis dramatically waved. A small blue flag shot out from his sleeve. Then with a puff, the small flag directly sank into the water pool and disappeared. Then the southern monkey clasped his hands together and began to chant something. I saw the surface of the once calm pool suddenly begin to ripple violently. The pool's water slowly began to swirl, spinning faster and faster. It gradually formed a massive vortex, and at the center of the vortex, a faint humming sound could be heard. The water parting trident. I never expected that Brother Nanlong would possess such a precious treasure. The elder surnamed Liu thought as he watched this scene, feeling quite surprised. It's nothing besides parting the water's surface. This item doesn't have much other use. But Marquis Nanlong shook his head and said faintly. Finally, he let out a low shout. With a flick of his hands, he shot 2 more magical seals into the vortex. The swirling water, which had risen dozens of feet, suddenly parted. A passageway appeared before their eyes. Without a second word, Marquis Nanlong transformed into a streak of golden light and flew straight down. Liu Weiyin hesitated for a moment, then also turned into a white streak and followed closely behind. A moment later, Elder Liu's face turned a little pale. This pool was very deep, or rather, it was extremely deep. He had flown downwards for a full 2,000 to 3,000 feet, and yet there was still no sign of the bottom. This made him in the shield light raise his hand and forget to look at the small light point that had become a bullet hole. He began to feel a bit uneasy, and there was a vague sense of oppression. Fortunately, after flying over 100 stations, he finally saw the southern ridge below, suddenly saw the light flash and slowly descend, finally reached the bottom of the water pool. The old man inexplicably felt relieved, similarly withdrew the shield light, and floated down gently. The bottom of the pool was at least several dozen feet deep, perfectly round. It seemed to be even larger than the mouth of the pool, and the ground was damp, covered with huge bluestone slabs, appearing exceptionally smooth. In the middle of the bluestone ground stood that water-splitting flag, embedded halfway into the ground, but the flag's surface emitted a blue, hazy spiritual light, surrounded by exceptionally tall, lush green water trees reaching straight up, the mouth of the pool towering high. If the blood-wrinkled door was hidden here, it would indeed be quite secretive. Ordinary people would never venture deep, hundreds of feet underwater. However, how did the Kenkun master know of this place? It was indeed a bit strange. The old man Lu Zun glanced around the vicinity. He frowned and said, "This is probably the result of the extraordinary perception of the Kenkun master. He must have directly detected it with his divine sense deep into the altar." "Non," a certain Marquis casually remarked, somewhat uncertainly. Having never considered this matter, he felt a bit surprised in his heart. Perhaps that's the case. The old man stroked his chin. His gaze flickered a few times. Marquis Lan pondered for a moment, then shook his head, casting aside this thought from his mind. Suddenly, he patted the storage bag at his waist. A beam of white light flew out from the bag's opening. It was the white jade pendant that had been used at the entrance of the inner valley. It floated in midair, spinning continuously. Non, a certain monkey, made hand gestures, continuously casting various colored spells that flew towards the jade pendant. In the blink of an eye, it was completely absorbed by the pendant. Then, the white light shone brightly, and the jade pendant suddenly faced a water curtain, stopping its rotation. It emitted a clear sound like a phoenix's cry. Marquis Lan silently raised his hand towards the jade pendant. He used a point of interest to stabilize the jade pendant. With a slight tremor, A large burst of white light suddenly erupted from the surface of the jade pendant. It swept forward. A strange scene appeared. Wherever the white light passed, the water curtain shattered like a broken painting. It twisted and tore apart. As the light shattered and disappeared, it was replaced by an arched stone door about 3 jong high. It flickered with a blood-red glow. The surface of the stone door was carved with a huge demon head. It almost occupied more than half of the door's surface. It was lifelike, exuding a fierce aura. "This is the Blood Curse Gate." The old man Lu Zun's eyelids twitched slightly. He said with a hint of hesitation. For some reason, upon seeing this, I suddenly felt a bit startled. He became increasingly uneasy. "Indeed, this is the door." The southern Long Marquis looked at this not-so-large gate, his expression thoughtful. But in the end, he sighed and said, "The blood energy on this door seems a bit too demonic. There shouldn't be any problems, right?" Lu Wei asked with some concern after watching for a while. "This door is sealed with ancient cultivation, using all its blood essence. Nature is beneficial for ordinary stillness. This is quite normal. Why does Brother Lu want to back out now?" Nan Mingho's gaze shifted. He said, "The retreat room has already arrived here. How could Lu do such a foolish thing? However, just to be safe, shouldn't we be a bit more cautious?" The old man shook his head. The people said, "Since Brother Lu mentioned it, it does make some sense. This door indeed gives a rather uncomfortable feeling. How about this? We first set up a few layers of stillness outside the door. That way, if anything goes wrong, we won't have to worry about our retreat." Nuon thought for a moment, and said with a calmer expression, "Good. This is the best way." As for what my fellow cultivator said, Lu Wang nodded without hesitation, and readily agreed. So, the two men, Ho and the old man, took out several sets of array tools, and began to set up a formation at the bottom of the pond. But just as Nan Long and Ho were preparing to break the blood curse door, in another part of the ancient ruins, there was a giant mountain covered in black mountain stones. A group of people was slowly making their way to the mountain peak. In the lead was a middle-aged cultivator with a gloomy expression. Beside him was an old man in green robes. They were none other than the master of the Ghost Spirit sect and Wei Wuya. That Wang Tiangyu was trailing behind the two of them. Jiangsu was behind those three. For other core formation disciples from the Ghost Spirit sect followed closely. This godforsaken place is truly bizarre. In such a remote area, a flight restriction has actually been placed over hundreds of miles. It's so restrictive that even short-distance levitation techniques are useless. Tiangyu looked up at the blood-red clouds not far above the peak, and suddenly muttered, "The more it's like this, the more it proves we found the right place. If I were an ancient cultivator, I would also establish my important grounds in a place like this. After all, with such a restriction in place, I suppose not many cultivators would be willing to walk for a day or two just to get here." The expression of the Ghost Spirit sect's master remained unchanged. He calmly replied, "After going through all this trouble, I hope we haven't found the wrong place this time. Along this journey, we have already lost 3 disciples." Wang Tiangyu revealed a somewhat helpless expression. Hearing this, the master of the Ghost Spirit sect let out a sinister chuckle and did not offer a reply. But at this moment, Wei Wayu glanced at the top and said expressionlessly, "After entering the inner ancient realm, we have already traveled for 3 days and 2 nights. We should be almost there, right? Don't tell me we still have to walk for several more days. Rest assured, fellow Taoist, once we cross this mountain, we will reach that place. There's no need to be overly anxious. If this matter succeeds, our Ghost Spirit sect will certainly be able to claim the title of the #1 sect in the demonic path. A breakthrough is in sight. Reaching the transformation stage will also be just around the corner." The leader of the Ghost Spirit sect did not dare to be negligent towards Wei Wayu. After his expression softened, he said, "Humph, to be honest, I don't believe in the legends of the Spirit Bird Garden. Most of them are lost ancient embellishments, mere rumors passed down. If there really were such a place located at the boundary of the spirit realm and our human realm, it should have been found by other cultivators long ago. How could it still remain undiscovered until now?" Wei Wayu fell silent for a moment and then said somewhat sarcastically, "Since Brother Wei doesn't believe it, why did you agree to our invitation back then?" The leader of the Ghost Spirit sect did not show any unusual expression. Instead, he asked with great interest, "Taoist Wang, why are you being so serious? It's just a rumor passed down like a game of telephone. If there really is such a place located at the boundary between the spirit realm and our human realm, it should have been discovered by other cultivators long ago. How could it still remain until now?" Wei Wayu fell silent for a moment, and somewhat sarcastically said this line, "Brother Wei, since you don't believe, Why did you agree to our invitation back then? The leader of the ghost spirit sect did not show any unusual expression, but instead asked with great interest, since Taoist Wang is so serious about it, and brought out nearly half of the sect's elites. Naturally, for this trip to Fallen Devil Valley, you must have a certain degree of confidence. I presume you are looking for something, even if it's not the Spirit Wonder Garden. It should be a hidden realm of ancient cultivators. Since I have learned of this matter, I naturally have to get involved. You are using my reputation to intimidate the other cultivators entering the valley. In return, I will take a share of the treasures. That shouldn't be too much to ask, should it? Wei Wuya didn't even think. He said bluntly, "Ha ha, Brother Wei is indeed straightforward. However, fellow Taoist Wei, you are mistaken about one thing. My sect has expended such great effort, precisely for that Spirit Wonder Garden. This Spirit Wonder Garden is no fabrication. The place truly exists. The entire Fallen Devil Valley was actually constructed by ancient cultivators, specifically to guard the Spirit Bird Garden. We just need to cross this mountain, and in a few more hours, we will be able to see it with our own eyes. When the time comes to open the space here, we will have to rely on your efforts." Fellow Taoist Wei, the ghost spirit sect master let out a loud laugh. He said with a hint of wild arrogance. Wei Wuya was somewhat surprised. A moved expression appeared on his face. From the meaning in sect master Wang's words, it seems he already holds the evidence for the existence of Ling Miao Yuan. That's right. I am indeed 70 to 80% certain that I can confirm the existence of Ling Miao Yuan. As for the evidence, once we arrive, fellow Taoist Wei will naturally find out. As soon as the middle-aged man in the black robe finished speaking, a mysterious look appeared on his face. This man truly has the makings of a formidable figure. His own cultivation is only at the early Nascent Soul stage, yet when facing Wei Wuya, a great cultivator of the late Nascent Soul stage, he showed no sign of unease at all. Wei Wuya nodded. His expression returned to normal, but inwardly, he couldn't help but sneer. Even if the master of the ghost spirit sect before him made the most extravagant claims, without seeing a trace of Ling Miao Yuan with his own eyes, he would not believe a single word of it. Of course, these unspoken thoughts, Wei Wuya would not say them out loud. Instead, after a faint smile, he changed the topic, and suddenly brought up another matter. After Elder Zhang of your esteemed sect entered the valley, he was separated from us. A formality. It's been so long, and they still haven't regrouped with us. Sect Master Wang, could you tell me the whereabouts of fellow Taoist Zhang? Surely, it's not like the other cultivators. Your esteemed sect wouldn't let a mid-Nascent Soul elder just wander around the Fallen Devil Valley, would you? Brother Wei, you jest. To be honest with you, Elder Zhang has actually gone to another secret location in the valley. He went to search for another treasure. Of course, although this treasure is precious, it certainly cannot be compared to the Lin Miaoyuan. The sect master of the ghost spirit sect seemed completely unfazed by this question. He answered in an understated manner. Hearing the other party admit it so frankly, Wei Wuya gave a couple of dry laughs. He found it improper to press the matter further. The group fell silent once again. They continued walking towards the mountain peak without a word. In a field of craters and piles of rubble, 6 or 7 disciples of the ghost spirit sect were scattered about. They were constantly under some giant boulders, searching everywhere for something. Meanwhile, the androgynous elder of the ghost spirit sect was floating motionless in the center of this pile of rocks. Although his divine sense could easily cover an area of wilderness dozens of miles wide, but to try and find some specific markings was simply beyond his ability. Therefore, even though this person felt extremely impatient, but it was only relying on these disciples under the door that I slowly searched like looking for a needle in a haystack. At the exit of a certain canyon in the inner valley, in the canyon filled with colorful rays of light, a thunderous rumble suddenly echoed, followed by a burst of radiant light. After a flash of lightning and thunder, suddenly a group of cultivators rushed out from the drum. Guarding it were the old Taoist Ming and the old man leaning on the law cannon. Although the two appeared to be unharmed, they looked quite disheveled, with a face covered in dust. This is the real person from Tianjin, and the elder Dongmen Tu from Yulin sect. The other 5 green-robed cultivators behind them were also in tattered clothes, with pale faces, looking as if they had suffered some hardships. However, those two evil ghost puppets remained exactly the same as before, with no changes at all. Finally breaking through the restrictions to enter the inner bone, I didn't expect that the 2 puppets of my friend from Tianjin would be so powerful, almost comparable to early-stage top cultivators. It's truly enviable. After Dongmen Tu rushed out of the canyon for several dozen zhang, he finally stopped the shield light, turned back to look at the canyon behind him, and glanced at those two ferocious-looking evil ghosts. Puppet. The directory said, a puppet is just a puppet, no matter how powerful. What does it matter? Can it compare to Brother Dongman's few subordinates? The 5 of them each practice one of the 5 elemental techniques. When they join forces, I'm afraid they can compete with the consciousness of the later stages. The real person from Tianjin clearly has a lot of wariness towards Dongman's disciple. After the injury, he intentionally lagged behind a bit. He subtly increased the distance between him and him. Meanwhile, the 2 mechanical puppets each flashed and stood behind the old Taoist. Upon seeing this scene, Dongman's disciple first had a grim expression, but then he sighed. Brother Tianjin is being quite cautious towards me. I originally thought that after these 2 days of working together to break the formation, you should have no prejudice against me. Why don't you reconsider the matter of joining forces? If the 2 of us work together to seek treasure, it would be much more reliable than fighting alone. What are you talking about, Brother Dongman? I have no prejudice against you. It's just that I still prefer to act alone. Let's not mention the matter of teaming up. Now that we have both entered the inner circle, I still prefer to go solo. Let's not mention teaming up. Now that we have both entered the inner circle, this humble monk will take my leave now. The Tianjin master yawned. He casually refused without a second thought. After bowing slightly, he cautiously fixed his gaze on the other party. His face did not move an inch. The disciple from the east gate noticed this situation. He furrowed his brows slightly, then he broke into a smile. Since the Tianjin friend truly does not wish to accompany me, I naturally will not force it. Then let us part ways here. I hope you gain a lot, my friend, he said with a calm expression. Heh. Then I thank you for your kind words, Eastgate brother. Upon hearing this, the Tianjin master immediately relaxed his expression. He said in a peaceful tone. Then, Old Knife, along with the 2 puppets, identified the direction slightly and leisurely left, watching the Tianjin master gradually fade into the distance. The old man in the green robe's face turned cold and indifferent. This old ghost is truly cautious. After spending 2 days with him, he did not reveal a single flaw. Otherwise, if there were 2 more puppets in that treasure hunt, I would be a bit safer. The disciple from the east gate sighed, seemingly unwilling. The disciple from the east gate seemed somewhat unwilling and sighed deeply. After looking around, he patted the retail agent at his waist. With a whoosh, a huge, glowing bat flew out of the bag's opening and landed in front of Dongman Tu. He raised a hand, and a black pill shot out. The silver giant swallowed the pill in midair. After a swirl, it silently flew off in another direction. Seeing this, Dongman Tu hurriedly called out to the 5 cultivators behind him. Leading the way, they transformed into a green light and flew over. The 5 cultivators from Yulin's sect followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, there were no traces of people at the mouth of the canyon. How about it, Brother Liu? Have you set up everything? With these few formations, this place will be completely covered. Even if a huge trouble arises, we can handle it. Moreover, there's an 80 to 90% chance that we are just wasting time here. After inserting the last pole in his hand into a corner at the bottom of the pond, Nanlongho let out a wry smile as he clapped his hands. I'd rather waste a bit more time than face any unexpected events. If there really are ancient treasures hidden behind this door, naturally, that would be for the best. But if that's not the case, it's better to have made some preparations than none at all. Although this old man is very keen on treasures, I value this old life of mine even more. Lu Weiyin gave a dignified smile and said nonchalantly. After hearing this, Marquis Nanu shook his head and said no more. At this moment, the old man finished placing the last formation plate in his hand and activated the seal. A layer of white, radiant light faintly appeared in the surroundings. The old man nodded in satisfaction. Only then did he turn around to once again face the stone gate shimmering with bloody light. Hozao had grown a bit impatient waiting. Seeing the old man had finished his preparations, he immediately and unceremoniously snatched a storage pouch from his waist and tossed it into the air with a flip. Instantly, a swath of white, radiant light burst forth. On the ground appeared the translucent remains of the ancient cultivator. This blood-cursed gate is truly wicked. To break the seal on this gate, it actually requires the core essence or the flesh and blood of the person who cast the curse to be undone. The flesh and blood is surely impossible to find now, but this ancient cultivator who passed on, his remains should still contain some of his refined essence. The southern long Marquis Chen Chung said. As he opened his mouth, a spray of golden yellow burst forth. Then he reached down and sucked in a handful of air from the ground. The bone immediately floated up into the air, reaching about 5 or 6 zhang above the ground. The southern long monkey flicked his finger Instantly, a white spell landed on the small arrow that stopped moving in front of his chest. With a sound, the small arrow trembled slightly. Suddenly, a blinding sword light erupted from the indirect point. The golden light was exceptionally dazzling. Soon, this sword light became brighter, transforming into a golden ball of light. After a moment, the sword light locked in. The light ball instantly detached from the small sword and shot out. All struck the ancient sea floating in the air. The scenery below the light ball exploded. Countless sharp sword energies crisscrossed below, submerging the entire skeleton within. In an instant, ancient powder of similar size fell from the Jin Wang like grains of sand. A flash of golden light flickered in the southern Long Marquis's tomb. With a flick of his embroidered robe, a burst of golden rosy light surged out from within, just in time to sweep up all the translucent drum sand. Not a single grain was left behind. The golden light in the air gradually faded away. Looking at the gold and silver that had been wrapped into a ball by the golden rosy light, the bone powder southern Marquis secretly nodded. Then, Nietzsche glanced at the nearby Lu Wang. The old man saw this. Naturally, he understood the intention of the male Marquis. Immediately, he rubbed his hands together without hesitation. The pale white law flag appeared between his hands. With a gentle shake, a gust of wind suddenly emerged around the. At this moment, the southern Marquis sat cross-legged. He formed hand seals with both hands. A low chant of incantations came from his mouth. Then various law decisions flew out from his hands, all striking the golden mist that wrapped the bone powder. The golden mist, urged by these, slowly rolled and spun with the bone powder inside. These translucent powders shimmered with various spiritual lights in the mist, flickering unpredictably, appearing dazzling. At this moment, the old man Lu Zun beside him tentatively attacked the soldiers. He did not panic and use the in his hand to attack, but casually raised one hand. After a flash of red light, several fist-sized fireballs shot towards the stone door in succession. With a few muffled sounds, the small fireballs barely approached, and the stone door flashed with blood light several times. It suddenly came alive. A large patch of wings gathered in the center, intertwining and condensing. It transformed into a ghostly face, identical to the one carved on the stone gate. It was over 10 feet wide. The ghostly face swallowed the fireballs in one gulp. After a few flashes, they immediately dissipated and vanished. The ward on the stone gate returned to its original state. Witnessing this scene, Elder Lu Zun was startled. But after a moment of hesitation, he again pointed the magic banner in his hand at the stone gate. The hurricane that had already appeared on it immediately transformed into a wine dragon, roaring as it attacked the stone gate. The ghostly face reappeared and opened its large mouth again. A great torrent of red light spewed from its mouth, instantly sweeping the wine dragon into the bloody light, and it was consumed by the ghostly mouth. Then, the ghostly face vanished again as the old man stared in stunned silence. After Elder Lu Zun and Marquis Nanlong exchanged a glance, they couldn't help but look at each other in dismay. This gate of the blood curse is truly peculiar. We had better do this properly. Let's follow the method left by the esteemed King Kun, and break the seal on this gate. Marquis Nanlong sighed. He said slowly. Lu Wang listened to this and stroked his chin. He could only nod in agreement, although he had more powerful means of attack. The ghost face on the stone door was indeed quite sinister. He didn't want to mess things up by being too clever. With the reputation of Master Kenkin, he must have a good chance of finding a way to break it. However, at this moment, a sound came from Ho. A piece of paper shot towards the golden light in the air. The golden light burst forth brilliantly. After a shout from Wing Min, he rushed towards the stone door without hesitation. Blood light flickered. The ghost face reappeared on the door. But this time, the ghost face expressionlessly faced the golden light. The bone powder mixed in the golden light suddenly transformed into tiny white light spots the size of rice grains, desperately attaching themselves to the ghost face. As soon as the ghost face came into contact with these light spots, a sudden surge of ash-gray mist erupted. The ghost face instantly dissolved. After a moment, the entire stone door was enveloped in swirling mist. In the mist, the sharp sound of ghostly wails and the flickering blood light continued. Finally, thick blood-colored tentacles emerged. The last thick, blood-red tentacle suddenly burst out from the mist, frantically whipping at the eroded ground, as if the entire stone door had come to life. But in the blink of an eye, these tentacles were covered by the gray mist. Instantly, it melted away piece by piece. Right now, as soon as Nan Long who saw the situation at the stone gate, he shouted loudly without hesitation. Then he pointed his sword forward. With both hands clasped, he declared, channeling all his spiritual power into the flying sword through the spell. The golden light instantly transformed into a streak of text. Like a startled swan, it shot through the air. The elder on one side had a gloomy expression. He also injected a large piece of agility into it. He directly threw it out with a flourish of his hand. After a flash of white light, this chicken-like figure transformed into a beehive branch. With a fierce momentum, it pounced towards the room. In the blink of an eye, the golden red in the beehive pierced through the swing. A deafening roar echoed from the mist. Golden rays and blood light intertwined in the fog like a hurricane. Then they exploded into a chaotic mass. After a gust of wind, the stone gate became clearly visible. A grayish-white mist, instantly dispersed by the explosion. It was completely clean. Seeing this, the southern fierce monkey squinted his eyes. The blood light on the stone door was completely gone. It was as if everything had vanished. His gaze slightly shifted. The southern Marquis took another look at the half-buried golden cocoon on the surface of the stone door. Suddenly, a divine movement occurred. A figure swiftly flew out from the stone door, transforming into a long, sharp streak. It aimed at the stone door with a chaotic array of slashing instruments. A thunderous, chaotic noise came forth. Amidst the brilliant golden light, the entire stone door was actually chopped into a pile of rubble. A strong, foul odor suddenly spread out. However, the southern Marquis and the old man with the surname Liu had already seen the fragments of the stone door. Their faces changed dramatically. The cuts on these fragments actually oozed dark red-black blood, like a human, and that foul odor was emanating from this black-red blood. This situation was truly bizarre. Although the stone door was shattered, the southern Marquis and the two did not see anything astonishing, because behind the stone door, the two did not see anything astonishing, because behind the stone gate, a black staircase appeared, extending downwards. It looked like it led underground. Let's go. I want to see what treasures are hidden behind this blood wrinkle gate. It's so mysteriously set up by the Marquis of Nanlong, looking at the passage that seemed to lead straight to the underworld. After licking his lips, he suddenly said with a cold smile. He didn't greet the old man Luzon. Instead, he took big strides forward on his own. After a few steps, he entered the passage. The old man Luzon, however, paused for a moment. He glanced at the remnants of the blood wrinkle gate, oozing black blood on the ground. Then he looked at the passage exposed right before his eyes. His brows couldn't help but furrow tightly. Suddenly, he let out a long sigh. He lifted his leg and also stepped into the passage. This was somewhat unexpected for the old man. The passage was very short. After going down for just over 20 steps, they arrived at an underground hall. The hall was not large, only about 7 palms wide. Aside from an offering table, the entire hall was empty with nothing else. When the old man entered this place, the Marquis of Nanlong was standing in the middle of the hall, staring intently at a few items on the offering table. He seemed to be in a daze. They were staring intently at a few items on the offering table. The whole person seemed to be in a daze. The old man walked over in surprise. He looked over as well. As a result, his heart suddenly trembled.